Let's talk just about the simple case where we have two objects. Then, okay, we can talk about this situation here and say that B is between A1 and A2, okay? This is a kind of easy way of looking at this, and we can think quickly about solutions, for instance, by taking the convex rule of A1 and A2 minus the objects A1 and A2 and say, well, B is between A1 and A2 if B belongs to such set. Then it's easy, and it's easy to define and easy to calculate, because we can calculate the convex rule of the two objects, we can extract the two objects, and it's easy to calculate the intersection between B and this set. But if I say to you, if I talk to Luis Velho and or to Alexandre to meet me between, for instance, between the church and the bank or something like this, maybe they would expect me to be somewhere like here. But if I apply this definition to this situation here, it turns out that B also belongs to the same set. Because if I calculate the convex rule of these two subsets and extract the two objects, B belongs to the between region. But actually, I suppose Luis Velho or Alexandre would never expect me to be here in this region. They would expect probably me to be here in this region if I say that I would be between A1 and A2. This is the kind of tricky situation that we typically find when we talk about modeling linguistic spatial relations. Also, suppose that I'm talking about being between, I don't know, between the restaurant and the beach or something like this. Okay, if I'll be between the restaurant and the beach, maybe I would be here, not here. Although if I take the convex rule and minus the objects, etc., anywhere in this region here would be considered to be between. Okay. There is, for this situation, for the between, we have found a good definition. Actually, it was proposed by Rosenfeld and Klette some 25 years ago, and we don't know any counterexample for this definition. Then, if you find some counterexample, I'd be glad to hear. Okay, the basic idea for this definition to define what is the between region, it goes like this: I am between two objects if I can see the two objects. That's the basic idea behind the method. Okay? If I am able to see both objects, then I would be between the two objects. That's the basic idea. That's what we call a visibility approach. And in order to define this, Rosenfeld and Klette in 1985, they define what they call admissible segments, which is basically segments of minimum length between points of the borders of the two objects, like this one, for instance. And if you take the union of such segments, you would have the between region. And this is nice because we would find, for instance, this region and also this region, and all this region here in this small part inside Z, not inside Z, but inside this region in Z, they will not belong to the between region so defined. Okay, then this is a good definition for the between term. And if anyone thinks about some counterexample, I would be glad to hear. I haven't known any counterexample. The problem with this definition is that it doesn't take into account kind of fuzzy relations, like where I am not exactly between, but I am near between. I am in this region, for instance. Okay, this region can take a look at these and two objects, but they are not defined by the admissible segments. Well, in order to solve this problem, we have proposed some 6 years ago a kind of fuzzy definition of the region, where we are able to, where we define actually the between region as a function of the angles between some points that are spread over the space. And then if I am, for instance, in this region where the angle equals to P, I'm in a kind of maximal degree of betweenness. But if I am in this point here, I am also between to some extent. That's the basic idea behind our approach. Oops. Sorry. We have proposed also some different algorithms in order to solve this problem. We have contour-based algorithms, which are nice because they are fast to implement, etc. We have some algorithms that work also. Here's an example. I'm not going to explain into detail the algorithm, but in case you are interested, I may talk about it after, okay? But these are some examples of the algorithm working, where you have the two objects, the two kids, and the algorithm is able to find this region here, which is the region between the two objects. And it's nice because we have objects of arbitrary forms, or etc., etc., and even so we are able to find it. And it's a contour-based algorithm, which means that we can implement it in a fast way. Okay. And how, where this kind of algorithm it may be applied, and why is it important? I'm going to show an application we have explored this algorithm. The basic idea is that if I am able to find the region between different objects, for instance, we have these two objects here, and the region between the objects are here, then I would be able to find objects between two objects. And it's nice to guide some different applications. For instance, what we have here is that we have some segmentation, fuzzy segmentation of brain structures in medical imaging. And once we are able to find the different regions between the objects, these are the two definitions that I just explained. This is the convex hull based, and this is the visibility based. Then, oops. We are able to implement segmentation algorithms that explore such spatial relations. For instance, this is the situation in medical imaging where people are interested in segmenting structures like the heart, for instance. Okay, what is the problem in identifying the heart in this image? The first problem is that the heart, it has a kind of typically it has many features that are similar to other structures in other parts of the images. For instance, the gray level here, the heart probably is just equal to other parts or in other regions of the image, and so on and so forth. But on the other hand, if I know a priori that the heart is between the lung, then it's a nice way of modeling. It's a nice way of modeling the problem. Is firstly defining what is the region between the lungs automatically, and then to explore this information in order to segment the heart. Okay, then this is a typical application where the spatial relations may be applied, and here what we have is some typical results of the between region between lungs and other structures, and the object that we want to segment between them. Okay, now I'm going to explain to detail how we have implemented these a typical application, a specific image segment, a specific image analysis problem, using the ideas that I have explained it up to now. Okay. The problem that we're interested in solving here, this is a joint work between Alexandre Noma, who is a former PhD student in our lab, and Beatriz, also a former PhD student in our lab, Consularo and Isabel Bloch. Okay. And the problem we are interested in solving here is to segment interactively some images, okay? And I'm going to talk about different cases for image segmentation. Single image segmentation with two objects, single image segmentations with many objects, and multiple objects, and multiple objects in the image, okay? This is also by no means something we have created. There is a huge literature for this problem. I'm showing some of the important methods that we may find in the literature: the watersheds, the AFT, the image forcing transforms, graph cuts, etc., etc. I hope to show you that our approach, our graph-based approach, it has some important advantages depending on the application you're interested in over the other methods. Okay. The basic idea behind these methods goes like this. Suppose we have an original image and we want to segment it into a number of parts. Okay. Then we'd like to have some user interaction in order to define the model. Now I'm start talking about how to create the model. And for this application, it's nice to have the user, the software user, to provide the model itself. Okay, and the model is created actually by using some scripts that are done that are created by the user, who is able to define what are the regions, the objects that he or she are interested in finding the images. Then we have the original image, the user interaction, and the image with the scripts, where the user said here, oh, this is the background, these are the pants, this is the torso, and so on and so forth. The basic idea behind the method is that we use these scribbles in order to define the model in such a way like this. Firstly, we apply the over-segmentation, some of the image decomposition methods. I have explained it, for instance, watershed or something like this. And then I am able to find the over-segmentation and the input graph defined by this. And we take the intersection between the scribbles defined by the user and the over-segmentation in order to derive a model graph. Okay? And the nice thing of this approach is that this model graph is actually a labeled graph where each node has a label associated to some region that has been created by the user. It's important to mention here, to highlight here, that we don't mind how many different scribbles or how many different regions of interest the object the user has. Okay. And then once we have the model graph and the input graph, I would be able to by matching those graphs using the previous approach, we'd be able to segment the object. I haven't talked too much about the optimization algorithm. There are many different approaches. Okay, we can use stochastic algorithms, we can use deterministic algorithms. There is a huge literature on these. For instance, we have some solutions using the SFS, which is the sequential forward search algorithm for feature selection. But there are some different ways of defining the optimization algorithm we want. I'll skip the details, and if you're interested, we can talk a little bit about this after, okay? And then in order to solve this problem that I just mentioned, what we need is to match the two graphs, the model graph and the input graph, okay? And once we have matched them, we can propagate the labels of the input graph, the model graph, onto the input graph, and by doing this, we are able to correctly label the input image. That's the basic idea. As I mentioned to you, we have again a different the topological problem between the two graphs, okay? And we solve this problem by defining deformed graphs, which are kind of graphs whose attributes have been deformed based on the matchings that we find, and the optimization algorithm simply look for the best deformed graphs in order to find the best solution for it. Let me show some examples here, okay? We have applied these to many different image databases that are available, publicly available. For instance, these are results for some images from the Berkeley image segmentation database. Here we have the input image, the over-segmented image by using watershed, and the scribbles provided by the user, okay? Each color here represents a different label that has been applied in order to create the model graph. And here what we have is the final solution. Once we have matched the model graph and the input graph and propagated the labels onto the other regions. And these are just simply a different visualization of the result with some transparency, where you can see that the different regions have been correctly identified. Okay. With this kind of approach, we are able to solve different image segmentation problems. For instance, this is the most basic one, the most explored one, which is simply foreground and background. This is a particular case where we have actually two different labels, We have one label for the foreground and one label for the background. As I mentioned to you, a key advantage of our approach is that we don't matter how many labels we have. It's simply a problem of assigning a different number of labels to the model graph. Okay, but it doesn't matter for us. But for the two label case, we are able to, with some simple scribbles, we are able to segment the two regions and then, for instance, put the foreground object onto different backgrounds or something like this. We are also able to treat some different cases, some difficult cases. For instance, a difficult case that appears in image segmentation is that where you have kind of difficult borders. For instance, where you have few or something like this, kind of small detail and fuzzy detail along the borders. And these are some examples. And also the method is kind of robust in such situations. Okay, as you can see here. And finally, this is a case where many of the proposed methods in the literature, they find some difficulties in order to solve. This is the situation where you have many different labels. For instance, for graphical, it's a kind of difficult. You have to define, you have to subdivide the problem into a sequence of sub-problems. Finding the first object and the background, and then you reanalyze the background to find a different object and so on and so forth. You have to decompose a multi-label problem into a series of two-label problems, okay? For us, it doesn't matter, as I mentioned. We can solve the problem in a single interaction. It's just a matter of defining the different labels you want. For instance, here we have a label for the background, a blue label for the support, and a red label for the cat, and the method is simply able to find all the different regions in a single way. And here what we have, some different applications of the method also for the multi-label case. Okay? Finally, an additional advantage we have in our method is that we may reuse our model. Because remember that what we have in order to solve, what we have created in order to solve the segmentation problem is that we have created a model graph, and this model graph has been matched to the input graph. But we can use this model graph in order to segment other similar images. And that's a key advantage of our method. Please let me show to you a small demo. By a single click of the user, in order to put the model onto each image, the algorithm is able to segment all similar images by using the original model. Then the idea is that the user is no longer required to define new scribbles for each image, okay? Because I'm using the original model graph. That's something is a byproduct of our method, actually. And also here what we have, again, is the model graph that has been created to this first element is just simply explored again to all other objects, and we are able to segment all other objects without requiring new intervention of the user. We have a software, an open source software for this. It's available in SourceForge, okay? Now I can show it to you, I can give it to you the link after, but it's simply by looking for structural image segmentation SourceForge, you would find this page here. And finally, for the last problem that this morning when I was talking about the program and my talk to I think it was with Christina, just realized that it's a nice way of reusing an old joke that I just realized that I'm separating you from the lunch, okay? And this is the good way of saying that I should take care of the period that I'm going to explain to you. But okay. This is the last image segmentation problem that I want to mention. Is the situation where we have different structures. They are similar, although they are kind of they may be different. This is an application in zoology, for instance, and I would like to be able to apply the same methodology in order to segment all images. And this is an important issue, for instance, where when we are talking about applications in biology, maybe we don't have one image or two images, but we may have some hundreds of images, of similar images, and we want to segment them. Okay, and then we were interested in defining a method where we would be able to analyze the whole set of the images and find automatically all those regions by matching those graphs. We have created a semi-supervised image segmentation approach where what we do is that we take all images at once, we decompose all of them as graphs, and we match all those objects. And actually, it turns out that similar objects, similar subparts of the objects for the different images, they tend to match a lot among each other. That's the basic idea behind the method. Then we can apply graph analysis algorithms like for community detection. This is a kind of typical problem that we find, for instance, in analyzing social networks or something like this. And we are able to find those elements that are matched a lot to each other in the image. And then by segmenting any of the images, for instance, the first image, and by propagating the result of the segmentation of the first image to all the elements for each community, we are able to segment all the whole set. Then this is an approach we have explored, and we are able actually to treat some not hundreds nowadays, but we are getting near to segment hundreds of images by segmenting just one image. Okay. And this is an example where we have all superposed graphs and the communities that have been detected for the different structures. Okay, I'll start I'll start the concluding remarks now, and I would like just to talk about two ongoing projects. They are recent projects that we have been working recently. Okay. As I mentioned to you, we have been working, studying some problems for structural pattern recognition and image analysis. I have talked to you a little bit today about our graph-based approach and the spatial relations that we have been exploring in our methods. I talked a bit about the image segmentation, interactive image segmentation method we have developed, and some different applications where we have single and multiple labels, single and multiple images, and also semi-supervised learning of the different methods. Now what we are working in the group, there are some different projects, but two of the main recent projects the first one regards what we call the key graphs. Now the idea is not to use the whole graph, but to use parts of the graphs in order to solve some specific problem. For instance, in order to do object detection in images, okay? Then what we have in such situations is that we have a model of the object that we want to detect, and we have a scene that we want to detect. And the idea is to create not a whole graph for the model, but to identify some subgraphs in the model that would be useful in order to detect the object that we want in the input image. Then we have some, these graphs in the model graph, they form what we call the set of key graphs, okay? It's just analogous to key point detections, for instance, by using SIFT, SURF, or Harris, or whatever. But instead of using points, we are using graphs, small graphs, okay? Then if we are able to match those graphs onto the key graphs that have been extracted from the scene, then we would be able to find subparts that are matched, and ideally, we would be able to find the objects in different poses or something like this in the image. This is this is the basic idea that has been proposed in the PhD thesis of Marcela Shimoto that has just concluded in our lab. The idea here is to explore, again, spatial relations in order to speed up the method. For instance, if I want to find key graphs of size 3, then by matching two graphs, because we have topological and other features from the graphs, for instance, orientation, etc., we are able to divide the search space in the image so that we are kind of focusing where, or if it's a key graph, where it should be. And then it's a way of speeding up the algorithm in order to eliminate many false possibilities. Here I'm just showing an example. If I want to find, for instance, if I start with this key point and I have a second candidate key point, then the third for some specific key graph, it should be searched here. And all this same plane here, I don't need to look for. And these are some examples where we have the key graphs and the object that has been found here. Here what we have is the graph that has been created from the input image and the key graphs that have been matched from the input graph. And here are some examples, some results. Okay, where you have the model image is this cover here. It's a comics cover, I guess, or something like this. And we have the object in some different poses, also with some partial occlusion or something like this. And the algorithm is able to find the key graphs that has been matched. These lines here represent the matched key graphs. And finally, this is the second example I wanted to mention. I just explained it to you, highlight a little bit in the beginning, is that we have to solve those topological difference problem between the graphs. In order to solve this, an evolution of the deformation graph idea has been proposed in the PhD thesis of Ana Graciano, also co-supervised by me and Isabelle Bloch in 2012, where we defined actually the structure, the attributed relational graph. We have modified this idea in order not to have more here only features, but now we have distributions. Actually, we have feature vectors with distributions associated to them. That's the basic idea, and that's what we call statistical relational graphs. Now the idea is to estimate the parameters of such distributions from, for instance, some training images or something like this. And then when we have an input image, we consider the graph that is observed from the input image as an observation graph. And the idea is to find some good observations based on the probability of this observation coming from that distribution. That's the basic idea behind the method. Then we have a situation where we can define a conceptual model, we can estimate the parameters from training images, and then we have a kind of graph that represents sets of probability distributions. And good solutions, for instance, for the image segmentation or something like this, would be obtained by maximizing this probability here, and this has been proposed in the PhD thesis from Ana, as I mentioned. And we have some good results already, even in the presence of noise and so on and so forth. But this is a kind of this is really in early stages, this research. The PhD thesis mainly focused on defining a formal model. Now we are working about finding some good algorithms and some good applications for it. Okay. For the results that I have shown today, I am grateful to a number of people that have been working with me a lot. Alexandre Noma and Ana, Charles Yuri, Celina, and Marcelo are former PhD and master students. And then I have Isabelle Bloch, my main collaborator in this research, Consularo, a former colleague, and Olivier Collion. These are some colleagues that have been working more generally in this research. I am grateful for them for the last years, but mainly I am grateful for the students that have been working with me during these years, and that's it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Roberto. So, time for questions we have.
Hi, Roberto. Nice work. It seems that the segmentation problem could be greatly simplified if you use some edge-aware filtering, such as some bilateral filtering, right? Because then your graph would have many less regions. Have you explored this? Yeah, by performing some edge-aware filtering, say bilateral filtering, then you would have just a few regions. Therefore, your graph would be much simpler. The matching and everything should be simplified.
You mean by filtering the input graph,
the image,
model?
Yes,
the input
image. Yeah.
Yes, we can use a lot of different kind of filters in order to do it, but there is a constraint that we cannot lose, and that's the trade-off. We cannot apply a filter. The constraint is that the elements I want to look for in the image should be a union of sub-elements in the input image. Then, for instance, if I take the watershed with larger structuring elements, maybe I would have fewer regions, but I would start risking losing the right edges, and that's the trade-off. If you look here, for instance, if the point is that I should have a small number of regions, but not smaller than the necessary. Because if it's necessary, it's smaller than necessary, maybe I would start losing these edges here, or other edges in other regions. That's the point. There's a trade-off, okay? And it applies to either filter I want to apply. In our situation, what we have explored up to now is that we have concentrated on having some good, fast optimization algorithms, and so that we do not care too much about the number of regions we have here. But I agree with you. If I have fewer regions here, I would have smaller input graphs, and of course
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that with fast bilateral filters, versions you can do this in real time. You could preserve those edges nicely, and I think it would push this, the applications forward. I mean, it would be great.
Okay, that's the nice thing about this approach, at least for me, is that we have some different steps, and of course we can try to optimize or to improve each of the steps separately. I totally agree.